A few days ago, I decided to watch the latest episode of Rick and Morty, and I was actually amazed at how the show has managed to bring back some of its old charm. Of course, it could have easily been a one-trick pony season, where the rest of the episodes were just mid, but episode 2 proved that theory wrong very quickly. Some of you guys actually commented on the last video, saying that episode 2 was equally as good as episode 1, and I didn't believe you guys for a second. But having watched it now, I totally see where you guys were coming from. So before we begin, hi again, I'm Shahir, and let's dive into season 9 episode 2 of Rick and Morty. Now this episode is called Rick's Days 7 Nights, which is an homage to the film 6 Days 7 Nights, which is a romantic comedy starring Harrison Ford. Who doesn't love Harrison Ford? How it links to this episode? I genuinely have no clue, because I haven't watched the movie.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Moving on, we are introduced to Rick smiling at a deer. And this is actually a crazy important moment because when was the last time you saw Rick smile while being sober and at a deer? I mean, immediately something feels off about this episode. That paired with the fact that it feels like a 90s winter and the weird country music. Well, I don't know if Rick likes country music, but he definitely doesn't seem like the type of guy who likes country music. Country music aside though, he then rolls up to a bowling alley where he has pictures with everyone there. And my first thoughts were, wow, Rick likes bowling. But then he greets all the guys and they say this.
Best friends!
We love you, Ted!
Ted!
What the fuck is going on here?
I mean, who even is Ted? As the episode progresses, we learn that Rick has erased his memory and replaced his identity with a guy called Ted, just so he can have a holiday for 2 weeks. Imagine that. Imagine being so mentally fudged that you can't even have a holiday without literally being someone else. I guess Rick's solution to a burnout isn't self-care. No, who would even think of such a thing? It's identity theft. Against himself. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the cost of being Rick Sanchez. Now, I'm not one to get religious, but this whole episode kind of reminded me of the Bible story of the forbidden fruit and Adam and Eve's fall from heaven. Now, before you guys crash out on me, just hear me out. Ted, or Rick, is meant to represent the innocent version of Rick, who has no idea that Rick is the smartest man alive. But when he realizes that he has these cybernetics implanted into him, and there are holograms versions of him, which Rick used to talk to Morty in Edge of Tomorty, Rick Die Repeat, one of my favorite episodes by the way. It's almost like him unintentionally eating the forbidden fruit. And after learning about all of this, he can never go back to that life of fishing by the lake with his friends or going to the bowling alley once in a while, and instead it becomes all about beating Rick. And this has pretty much been the origin of every Rick we have seen in the show, including living an ordinary life, then rejecting an offer from an alternate version of himself, losing a loved one, which causes the alternate version of himself to attempt to get revenge, which he fails in doing so, then travels to a version of the Smith family house, crash landing in the garage and going on a depressive spiral. This was an insanely big brain move from the writers to show how Rick's fate is basically set in stone, and even Rick sort of knew it himself, which is why the stakes never felt intensely high in this episode when Ted quote unquote beat Rick. And the saddest part of all of this is that it becomes increasingly apparent to us as the audience that the power Rick has is probably never worth having for anyone. You see, before Ted figured out the whole business about him actually being Rick, he was genuinely happy. He was spending time with Marjorie, he had friends, and even though all of this is technically fake because it's an alternate reality which he planted himself into, it still provides us, the audience, an insight into what Rick's life would be like if he wasn't the smartest guy in the universe. Another thing which this episode shows is Morty's character progression, I guess. Morty's never really been someone to go against Rick, and instead is always relying on Rick for things that he wants. But this episode really shows how Morty can hold down the fort when Rick's away. And Another thing it shows is how Morty has kind of accepted that Rick's actual character his actual personality, is something that Morty and everyone else has to deal with. And this kind of emotional maturity honestly had me tearing up. The scene kind of made me feel like Morty had grown up, even though Morty never actually grows. I mean, he's infinitely 14 forever. It felt like some part of Morty had grown up, and that was really rewarding to see, albeit in a slightly depressing way and depressing episode. Then, like I said before, the whole episode focuses on Ted trying to beat Rick, which is some crazy Inception shit. But the weird thing about this episode is that it makes it really clear that Rick has spent years convincing himself that all the pain he's been through is worth it. That being the smartest guy in the room is worth the loneliness, worth the failed relationships, and worth pushing everyone away. Because the fact of the matter is, no one else will really know how it feels. Ted kind of proves the opposite, that intelligence isn't everything, since he is basically Rick if Rick was just a normal guy, and yet he's happier, way happier. The episode never outright says it, but that's what makes it hit. We see this in full effect as Ted slowly starts to pick up Rick's habits and eventually reaches an intelligence basically equal to Rick. And that is the most depressed we see Ted in the entire episode. It's almost like as the episode goes on, his intelligence increases, and it's like a corrupting force to his life. The best moment that portrays this is when all of his buddies want cybernetics implanted in them too, and one of them actually ends up dying, because I'm pretty sure he wanted laser eyes or something stupid like that. But something as simple as that just shows how Rick's intelligence is a danger to himself as well as everyone else around him. Another really weird thing about this episode is that Ted wants to be Rick. He wants to be the smartest man alive. But it's through this inceptive dilemma that we get to see Ted actually voicing Rick's true thoughts.
If I were just a little bit smarter, I could figure it out and be happy. I'm gonna push the button, Morty. I'm gonna do it for you.
Maybe, just maybe, if he was smart enough, he could figure out how to be happy, how to be truly happy. And it's that constant cycle of thought that keeps Rick imprisoned in this weird cage of self-destruction. It's really sad to say that Rick has basically trapped himself in infinite dimensions where he is the smartest man alive, but probably also the saddest. For all of Rick's power, all of his intelligence, the thing he actually wants is a life simple enough that he can smile at a deer and actually mean it. You see, when the episode starts, Rick smiles at a deer. By itself, it's a tiny moment. But after everything we learn, that scene becomes one of the saddest moments in the episode. Because it wasn't Rick Sanchez smiling at a deer. It was a version of Rick that could finally forget what it cost to be Rick Sanchez. All I know is if season 9 keeps giving us amazing episodes like this and the last one, we're in for one hell of a ride. Because episode 1 was great, and episode 2 just proved it wasn't a fluke. And for the first time in a while, I'm actually excited to see where Rick and Morty goes next. Thank you guys for watching, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.